His was a power that evoked images of witches or demons, the unclean and the impure. A mere touch was all it took for him to strip man and beasts alike of its life. God has quite a cruel streak to bestow such a power upon such a beautiful young man. And a strange power it was indeed, like something out of a fairy tale. Like something confined to words upon the page. It seemed otherworldly, unbelievable. Nonetheless, as he had demonstrated to the white-haired girl, his peculiar powers were indeed real. That said, the world has its fair share of oddities. It just so happens that those curiosities tend to remain hidden away, known only to a few. Although, you have laid eyes upon a number of unusual phenomena yourself, Master. The doors to the past, through which we have passed, this fairy mentioned. And as a matter of fact, two of us. Now, as you just saw, the white-haired girl found herself enraptured with this man and his accursed power. How do you think... Hell, no wait.
Michelle.
Michelle.
Yes, French.
How do you think Michelle acted in response to her proclamation? He had spent so long refusing to interact with others. No, unable to interact with them. As such, he was unsure how to respond. After standing there, expressionless for a few moments, he muttered,
I'll consider it.
And with that, he returned to his chambers. While he was not someone who wore his heart on his sleeve, I personally do not believe he was completely devoid of emotions. He had simply forgotten how to express them in his extended solitude. So I think he was, in that moment, in a state of complete panic. She had, after all, just assaulted him with a stream of incomprehensible declarations. That, knowing the truth, she still wished to remain in the mansion. And that, knowing the truth, she loved him. The love she had declared for Michel was not a fleeting puppy love. There was genuine tenderness and warmth to her words. But he had gone through his life shunned, feared, pushed away. To him, that was normal. He had never given anyone reason to have any fondness for him. So he found himself utterly unsure how to take the affection she was showing. Of course, he was not the only one rattled by the whole affair.
Oh dear.
Several days had passed since Michel had asked for time to think. He had still yet to show himself again.
This is all my fault.
The white-haired girl paced anxiously through the halls, on the off chance she might run into him. As per his request, though, she kept her distance from his chambers. Nevertheless, she was beginning to worry about the fact that he had secluded himself away for so long. So she worked up her courage and made her way to his room.
What if he doesn't want to see me ever again? I didn't consider I might be overstepping my bounds. Before opening my...
Every step she took was slow and laborious. Her mind raced with worry and doubt.
I should at least tell him I'm sorry.
Rather than out of a desire to know how he felt, she was compelled by guilt and a desire to apologize. After walking for some time, she arrived at a door sitting in an utterly unlit hallway. She drew in a breath of musty air, then let it out, repeating the process several times. Next, she reached her hand up to knock on the door, then pulled it back, also doing this a number of times. Oh, how adorable she was. I wanted nothing more than to give her a little nudge. After all, she was too sweet a girl for her worries to be anything but misplaced.
I just can't find the courage. Maybe I should come back another day. But what's the point of waiting? I need to apologize and get this weight back now.
She gathered her courage once more, this time determined that she would do it. The white-haired girl moved her small fist toward the door, which then swung open.
I'm sorry.
Please, you must announce your presence. I almost walked right into you. Are you in that much of a hurry for mishap?
I'm sorry.
And I believe I told you to stay away from my chambers.
You did. I spent a long time debating whether I would, but I decided I really wanted to tell you this.
Oh, well, actually.
I am truly sorry.
What?
The other day, I could barely manage to get the words in my head all the way to my mouth. There was no room in my mind for anything else. I shoved my own thoughts and feelings into your face. Not considering that might not be what you wanted. Just running nonstop, not thinking at all. I was terribly disrespectful to you. Completely selfish. You're a kind-hearted man. I truly believe that. But you are only being courteous because you're a nice man. I'm sure you have little interest in the affections of a queer little girl. Oh wow. So... I would love it if I could stay here. It would be a wonderful blessing. But if you really don't want me here, if my feelings are imposing upon you, then I apologize. I'm sorry, and I'll take my leave of this house. I'm sorry.
Don't be. My mind went blank for a moment.
What?
I find it difficult to comprehend you. The other day you affirmed your intentions to stay. Now you say you'll leave without a struggle.
You holed up in your room for so long. But I thought, you didn't want me around. To be honest, I want to stay here, I do.
I think you should do whatever pleases you.
Huh?
You can stay, or you can leave. We're not pressure you to do one or the other.
So, I'm not imposing?
To tell you the truth, I had to think about that for some time. However, I have now come to something of a solution. Since you're here, come to my room.
What? But I thought I wasn't allowed to...
To prevent what almost happened a few moments ago, so we don't accidentally run into each other.
So sorry.
You're forgiven. Now come in.
Okay. Is this a necklace?
If that's what it looks like to you, then I suppose that means I succeeded. Pick it up.
Ah. Has a little bell. It's adorable.
Please, make an effort to wear that while you're in the house. Because it's so dark, there always exists the risk that we might accidentally bump into one another. We'll try to come up with a way to reduce that risk.
Does that mean you didn't leave your room because you were working on this?
That's right. What other reason would I have?
I think most people would assume it was because they put you in a bad mood or you didn't notice.
A little sense of how most people see the world.
So sorry. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm really glad to know that you put so much thought into a life together with me.
Would be difficult not to. After the other day.
Hey. I'm so happy right now. Can't think of any better word to describe it. I couldn't be happier.
You're being dramatic. To tell you the truth, I feel a little bad about it.
Why?
It seems rather impertinent to afflict a bell to someone. You're not livestock. You're a person.
That's why you turned it into a necklace? Thank you very much. I'll keep it on me at all times. I truly, really appreciate it, Lord Michel.
Don't call me Lord, please.
Alright then, I'll just call you Michel. And will you please call me Giselle?
The windows.
What?
You could open the windows. Never mind. I was just thinking you would need the bell at all if we could get some light in here.
It can't be opened?
The rest is shut. All the windows have been shuttered for as long as I've been here.
I assumed you had boarded them all up.
That was done long before I ever arrived. After so many years here, though, I hardly consider it an inconvenience anymore. It still serves to repel the wanderers.
Oh, really?
Is there something odd about that?
No. It's just, I realized I had the wrong impression about a number of things. As I learn more, I see things in a different light. See you in a different light. And I'm sure there's still plenty more for me to learn.
Of all the people I've ever met, you're perhaps the most difficult to predict. Not only do you have no aversion to the darkness, you...
Dark has always been a close friend of mine. Which isn't to say I dislike the sun. Its light can simply be a bit too strong for me. I'm like some kind of unholy monster that can't be exposed to sunlight.
You're anything but unholy. My name which suits you. Much better than me. That day, when I first saw Giselle, I was wary of her, apprehensive. I didn't want her anywhere near me. But, as my doubts about her faded, I began feeling something very different. As though the lump in my heart had been melted away. I began to yearn for her to be at my side, knowing full well it couldn't possibly last, knowing full well how foolish it was. I found myself captivated by her. I found myself wishing to to have her stay with me.
And that marked the true beginning of their quiet days together in the dark mansion. They acknowledged and accepted each other's presence, no longer isolating themselves, but actively, regularly conversing. As mundane as it might seem, it was something they had been unable to attain until then. Nevertheless, they were still somewhat fumbling around in the dark with one another, drawing closer and pushing away again. Michel, in his own ungraceful way, was beginning to open himself up to things she said. And the white-haired girl was beginning to smile with greater frequency. They had taken to dining together, and her wish of learning to read was being granted. He taught her in the feeble light of a candle placed upon the table, the two sitting across from one another. For Michel seemed to be well educated. He had not been instructed in the art of teaching, so he found the process quite grueling. But to the white-haired girl, the longer it took, the better. Her primary objective, after all, was to spend time with him. The days passed, and eventually she reached the point where her comprehension was adequate enough without assistance. Her next request, then, was for them to read through a book together.
Have you read every book in the library?
No. I stopped looking at them after a while. Most everything I'm sent is dull, uninformative dreck. Diary of a Lord. Foolish make-believe tales.
You're not fond of fiction, I take it.
That value is there in the lies and fantasies of another.
Stories can be invigorating. Tales of adventure can take you places you could never go. Legends of heroes, folklore, stories of otherworldly phenomena. They can be terrifying, and they can be exhilarating. They may not be real, but they give you a little glimpse into the author's heart, let you feel like you're seeing the same thing they saw.
You're a very empathetic girl. Fiction inspires nothing of the sort in me. However, perhaps long ago, I may have been able to, though I can no longer remember what it feels like.
I'm sure it'll come back to you. You're not an empty man. So sorry. I'm making you uncomfortable again. How about we read this book today?
Appears to be a collection of legends.
You haven't read this one yet. That's good to hear. It'll be more enjoyable if it's a new experience for the both of us. It looks like it's a record of local legend.
The book is divided into several sections. What appears to be mostly superstitions.
I am curious what kind of stories this area has.
The two of them were looking down at a simple, undecorated volume. As the white-haired girl has said, it seemed to be a collection of local legends passed down from generation to generation. They sat across from one another at the table, her turning the pages, and Michel simply watching as to not brush against her. Eventually, her eyes were drawn to a particular word on one of the pages, bringing her hands to a stop.
A witch.
That chapter detailed the story of a witch, or more precisely, said witch's curse. The story went something like this. There once was a witch, skilled in the dark arts. She lived a meager but peaceful life alongside the other villagers. But then, a long, long drought struck the village, which the people blamed on the witch. The witch was sentenced to death, and as the fire blazed around her, smoke rose high into the air. The smoke soon became rain clouds, blessing the village with an end to the drought. The crops were revitalized, and the villagers fancied themselves heroes. However, the rain also brought madness upon the people. Though the earth below them was lush and fertile, the villagers were losing their minds, and they eventually began to take each other's lives. The witch still lived on, in the form of a curse. Many fell victim to the witch's curse. Though it did not only take, it also fulfilled people's desires. The villagers had gone mad, but their wish for freedom from the drought had been granted. Thus, the legend had been passed down as follows. The witch will grant you your wish in exchange for great sacrifice. As smoke in the sky, she watches down upon us from above. To reach the witch, climb for the heavens. But know that road is a road to destruction.
People still believe the witch's legend even now, I suppose. And that's why
His accusations of being a witch. This is not an area very welcoming to outsiders, especially one who stands out as much as you. What brought you to this region in the first place?
mine is a story I'm sure you've heard before. I was cast out of my house. I come from a very poor family. We could barely even afford to keep everyone. Being as weak as I am, it was only natural that I would be the first to go.
I see.
What I don't understand, though, is why the witch is said to grant people's wishes. That is to say, she had reason enough to hold a grudge, but not to give people things they ask for.
All we have to go on is a few pages. There's no saying what might have been changed or added over time, so I'm certain the entire legend isn't written here. That said, we are to accept everything as written, confer what the witch's reason might have been.
And that is?
If you truly want it that much, you can have it. I'll make certain your suffering outweighs it. Despair that comes after a moment of happiness is far more agonizing than despair alone. I presume that is why the witch decided to grant people wishes.
That is one way to look at it. Ask you something.
Go on.
When I first arrived here, you told me that a cursed witch used to live in this mansion. After reading this legend, I'm now finding it hard to believe you made that up simply to scare me.
I appropriated the tale. Nothing more. It said the witch was born in this house.
What?
Quite the place my family found for me. But it was a clever decision putting me here, I think. Not many people are likely to come near a house with such a pedigree.
But... never mind. Then.
I
I
suspect
I know...
Oh,
Oh,
wait.
is that you?
I think so. I suspect I know what she was going to say then. If the witch is said to grant wishes, do not also attract people who so desperately want something? Do not care what price they must pay? Perhaps she was correct. Perhaps there had been those who had come to the mansion chasing after the legend. Perhaps they had encountered... Okay, that's you.
And perhaps they had encountered Michelle, touching him, and lost their lives. On that day in the garden, he had said, "Many things are buried here." Perhaps that included such visitors.
I wonder if that story might be more than mere superstition.
If the witch legend really did exist, what would you do?
It might be nice to talk to her, maybe.
That's all? Really?
A little bad for her, though. The only people who ever visit her are there to ask for something after all. I can only imagine just how lonely that must be.
Swear, cannot comprehend the way your mind works.
So sorry.
Though, we've seen the legends true. I have an idea what climb for the heavens might mean.
Oh?
The mansion has an observation tower. Or I suppose what used to be an observation tower. At any rate, it's quite a tall structure. This is the house where the witch was supposedly born. The tower reaching for the heavens seems like the perfect place to find her, if she really is here.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing a rather tall structure as I first approached the mansion.
Would you like to see it?
Of course. Please lead the way.
The two of them left the library and made their way to the room with the stained glass window. At the far end of the room were the stairs to the observation tower. The tale of the witch had piqued the white-haired girl's interest, inspiring her to put herself forward to satisfy that curiosity. She had, after all, been accused of being a witch herself, so she undoubtedly felt an affinity to the legend. What a sweet girl she was. With Michelle in the lead, the two climbed a long, long spiral staircase. There were many more stairs than the white-haired girl had anticipated, and she soon found herself short of breath. Rectangular windows were carved out of the stone in regular intervals. Peering through one of them, she could see a village in the distance. A pleasantly cool, high-altitude breeze brushed across her face. After much climbing, they finally arrived at the top, where a door made of partially rotted wood stood. Michelle pulled the door open, revealing a small room with no windows or doors in sight.
This is the top of the tower.
Despite it being called an observation tower, you could hardly observe anything from there. Her face contorted in confusion. The white-haired girl threw her gaze about the room. Glancing up, she saw only a darkened ceiling, and slightly below it, a single small window through which shone a little ray of light. The beam cleaved through the darkness like a sharpened blade of a beautiful sword. The darkness draped over the rest of the room only served to make more impressive that solitary ray of light. It had a magical fairy tale quality to it. As if being pulled in by it, she drew toward the light.
I suspect there was once a large window in this room. If you look closely, you can see the seams in the stone of the wall. The color of the stone differs slightly on either side of the seams. I presume something caused them to seal off the window after it was built, though I don't know what that something might be.
When Michelle's eyes fell upon the white-haired girl wrapped in that beam of light, he sputtered to a stop. The man who never flinched at anything, who had long since distanced himself from such stirring of the heart, was utterly bewitched. He had never seen her illuminated so vividly before, and he was having a great deal of trouble finding the words to describe her striking beauty. For someone who had been chased out of her home and accused of being a witch, the white-haired girl looked less like a practitioner of the dark arts, and more like one of the hosts of heaven. Michel undoubtedly felt the same way, for his gaze was affixed firmly upon her.
Dazzling, isn't it? Like a staircase leading to heaven.
Yes, perhaps so.
Is something the matter?
No, I'm fine.
You know, it feels like there's something odd in the air here. Feels like someone actually might be listening.
If the witch were to speak to you, what would you say to her?
I would ask her to tell me her true feelings, to tell me what kind of person she was, and what kind of pain she had to endure. I just want to know what she felt. This woman people branded as a witch.
The legend was written from a neutral perspective. It's possible she was a fearsome witch. It's also possible she wasn't.
I get the feeling she was just persecuted like me. Like me and you.
Unlike you, I truly am impure. Disagree all you want, but my touch kills. I'm a strange, incomprehensible, irrational creature. Or maybe, not even a living being. That's why when I touch something that is, I bring them death.
If only I actually were a witch. If only I actually had some kind of extraordinary power. Regardless of whether it came from God or the devil, then I would be able to grant people's wishes.
My wish need not be granted.
But it's what I want too. I wish to be able to touch you. I would be perfectly content with nothing changing as ever being able to touch one another. I would be more than happy with that. But I'm allowed to dream, aren't I? It doesn't have to be in this life. I pray the day will come that we can get closer, even if it has to happen in another life.
Happiness is very much a stranger to me. But am I allowed to dream too?
You are.
I would never touch you. I swear it. But I would like to dream about it. I like to imagine placing my hand upon your cheek.
You can. Reach your hand out for me. I will imagine it too. I am imagining your fingers running through my hair, brushing up against my skin. I can feel your warmth.
There was a wall between them, a wall they could not cross. For if they did, it would mean the white-haired girl's death. No matter how much they yearned for it, they could not touch one another, so they did so within the confines of their imagination, envisioning it as in much detail as they could imagine. It was sad, but sweet, a moment of pristine, untainted beauty. The two of them emanated serenity, as fitting as the word cursed might have been to the mansion as a whole. At the top of the observation tower, a pure bond was being shared. A fleeting moment between a young woman with a cursed touch and a kind-hearted, beautiful girl. The dream did not last long. No, for God is quite cruel. They simply wanted to be together. That was all. Their wish was hardly unreasonable. Only a quiet, peaceful life together. But misfortune was creeping ever nearer, its footsteps growing more and more pronounced.
Hmm? Someone at the door.
The flow of time was hazy within the mansion's walls. They had little way of telling whether it was night or day, preventing them from knowing exactly how much time had passed. The white-haired girl had made a habit of climbing the observation tower, every so often to see whether the sun was up, which allowed her to approximate the time of day. Consequently, when she heard the knock on the door, she was not aware of just how deep the night was outside, that forest and beast alike lay quietly at rest.
Oh, right. The stores in the cellar are almost exhausted. It must be this month's delivery.
Not thinking it was worth bothering Michelle over, she made her way out of her chambers and headed for the entrance. There had only been a single knock, leading her to conclude that, as before, the servant had simply left the box outside the door. So without a second thought, she opened the door, and there she saw a strange, vagrant man standing in the moonlight. His clothes were tattered, his bearded face bony and emaciated. She gasped, shrinking back several paces. The heavy door began to swing shut, but the man forced it open, glaring down at her with unfocused eyes and mumbling.
Are ye the witch that'll grant people's wishes?
It was in that moment the white-haired girl realized she had been careless. The man had sought out the mansion because he believed the legend of the witch. And he did not seem particularly right of mind either. Perhaps a result of wandering through the forest for several days. Or perhaps it was because he was so beaten down that he thought to ask for a witch's help. In a word, he seemed mad.
No. There is no witch here.
Sure there is. Don't you lie to me. I can hear the witch's voice. She led me to this house.
I promise you there isn't. Now please be on your way.
Have you any idea how long it took to find this place? How many days I've gone without food or water? And you're telling me to get lost?
I don't know what you want from me. Happy to give you a little food, so please.
Is there really no witch?
There's no witch here. It's nothing but a legend. If she does exist, she doesn't live here.
I see. Then that means you're just an ordinary person. Just a person. Just a girl. So there ain't a thing you can do.
No, get away from me. What are you doing?
Why waste time waiting for you to get me a little grub when I can just take it all? I'm starving here. I'm so hungry I could eat a human.
You're about to commit a grievous sin. Are you not ashamed to act in defiance of God?
God? If I believed in God, would I come begging to a witch? I don't fear him, and I sure as hell don't fear people. Who's gonna show up at a house in the middle of nowhere? Who's gonna call me out? Who's gonna stop me? No one! That's who. No one's gonna stop me, and no one's gonna offer me salvation. Ah, there's a thought. You're a woman, so before I kill you...
What are you doing?
What? There's other people in here?
The white-haired girl lay pinned on the floor beneath the yelling bandit, pleading for help with her ruby eyes. As soon as Michel grasped the situation, he tossed his candlestick aside and leapt for the man. The candlestick gave a sharp clang when it hit the floor. The impact extinguished the flame, bringing the mansion to a near-perfect darkness. Something glinted at the bandit's hand, and then, without hesitation, he thrust it at Michel.
Michel!
How stupid must you be to come at me unarmed?
In his hand, the man held a knife, its tip dripping with Michel's blood. Red spilled from the gash in his arm, the flow growing heavier with each passing minute.
You're the only other person here, by the looks of it, eh? Perfect! I'll take you both out!
You.
What?
You don't appear to know whose house you tried to break into.
What are you on about?
Regret your ignorance to your very last breath.
You're messed up in the head, you madman! Hey, stay the hell back! Take one more step and...
I inherited the rich's curse.
Let go!
Michel clutched the man's face in one hand. The man raised his knife to strike back, but
What's happening?
the strength drained from his fingers, the knife falling to the floor. The man writhed in Michel's grip.
Me face! Me face! Ah, I can't breathe!
Leave this place immediately. Though you won't get far inflicted with my curse.
Helpless to fight back. Nay, helpless to even consider fighting back, the bandit fled from the mansion in terror. In his wake, only the white-haired girl and bleeding Michel remained.
I just saw a man's life drained from him. His face withering away, sucked completely dry. I didn't doubt him, but dear God, that was...
That was quite disturbing for you, I'm sure.
No, not at all. It's my fault anyway. If I hadn't been so careless. Oh, your arm! We need to get that wrapped up.
Please, do not touch me. You mustn't touch me. The wound is hardly fatal.
It's all my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, the degree of the blame falls on me for saying nothing. Next time someone comes to the door, let me know.
I'm sorry.
Please, you don't need to apologize. Well,
Yes?
for once, I'm actually proud of myself. Proud that I could use this terrible ability of mine to do something more than just take life. To protect someone I care about. Uh, uh, uh. So, like I said, please don't apologize.
Alright, thank you. Michelle? I'm glad you're here. I care about you too.
Thank you.
Had the flame of Michel's candle not gone out when he threw it to the floor, he would have seen a heartfelt smile on the white-haired girl's face, and she would have seen a flush of red and an awkward smile on Michel's normally blank face. He also might have seen a little glimmer on her cheek, where a few drops of his blood had landed. But alas, they had no light. The collapse of their happiness came slowly, gradually. Perhaps it was because she had touched his blood instead of his skin. But the deterioration of the white-haired girl's health crept along at a relaxed pace. The life was not sucked out of her in the blink of an eye as it had been from the bandit. She merely grew progressively less and less healthy. Amidst her physical decay, she was bestowed with one blessing. Her beauty remained untouched. But as far as blessings went, surely there were others she could have been granted. Could God have not picked something a little better for her? By the time the two of them realized what was happening, it was already too late. The white-haired girl had grown so weak she could hardly leave her bed.
Yes,
You up there?
I am.
Thank good. Can't see very well.
How could this happen? I thought I had saved you, but no. I did the exact opposite.
Please, don't talk that way. You did save me that day.
But you're in the cups of death now. It's my fault. Because of this curse I bear. How? How could this happen? Why did this have to happen? What am I? Why was I given this body?
Michelle, can I ask you a favor?
Go ahead.
Stay with as much as you can until the very end.
was going to do as much anyway.
Thank you. I'm happy, Michelle. Happier than I have ever been. And you didn't just save my life. You saved me. I've been saved. But only I wonder how he'll handle things when I'm gone. If only I hadn't opened the door that day. I wouldn't be leaving him all alone. And we could be happy together for even longer.
Yes?
Would you please hold my hand? I think it's probably safe now.
I will not. I cannot touch you. If I do, I might take what remains of your life. Take your beauty away and force you to die hideous. I cannot touch you. James.
You.
On his way back from the washroom several days later, Michelle heard muffled voices.
Got it. Good.
He was having trouble making out what they were saying, but he could tell it was several men, and they were outside the front door. The fact that he could hear them at all through the heavy door meant that they were probably shouting quite loudly. An indescribable sense of uneasiness came over him. Dread. He drew nearer to the door and focused on the voices on the other side. They grew clearer, enough for him to make out what the men were saying.
Everything's in place. We're ready to kill this witch now. This is definitely the place. That half-dead bandit said she was in this mansion. Listen well. No matter what we find in there, we kill it. It could be a child for all I care. That doesn't change a thing. Kill the witch. Kill the witch! Kill the witch! Kill the witch!
What he heard beyond the door was a group of men shouting for the death of the witch. In that moment, Michelle regretted the decision to let the bandit go free and not watch him until the moment of his demise. He must have made his way down to the village in search of help, where he revealed that what he had found at the mansion.
Damn it!
But it was too late. Regret solved nothing. He could neither stop the villagers from raiding the house, nor could he stop the white-haired girl from dying to the effects of his curse. He was helpless to do anything. The gears of his fate had locked him into a path of tragedy and were turning mercilessly onward. The men had begun trying to break the door down with what sounded like a battering ram. While the first strike was not enough to breach the barrier, it was still quite powerful. He was certain it would not be left alone. Michelle's mind raced. Was there anything he could do about this predicament? How could he escape from the corner he had been backed into? Despite his possessing inhuman powers, he would be powerless against a whole mob of adult men. The villagers almost certainly came armed as well.
Michelle?
A weak voice came from behind him. Aghast, he spun around to find the white-haired girl stumbling toward him. She breathed heavily, leaning against columns for support.
What are you doing out here? You only worsen your condition by exerting yourself.
I had a sinking feeling. I heard noises on my way here. It seems that I brought all my misfortune upon you.
Don't say that.
If I hadn't come here, this never would have happened. You never would have been in any danger. Please, Michelle, hand me over to the men outside.
Absolutely not. I would do no such thing.
They're here for the witch, aren't they? I'm guessing they're the same people who were chasing me before. The village had a poor harvest this year, I hear. Like the village in the legend. And they believe it's the witch's curse.
But you're not a witch.
They need someone to fill the role, though. So please, hand me over. And then escape on your own.
I could never.
Please, Michelle.
I'm the one who's cursed, not you. You want me to hand you over? What do I have left then? Nothing. Not a thing. I would have nothing. It's so long. I finally found someone who isn't afraid of me, who won't run. I no interest in a world that would take you away from me, make me live alone once more. To hell with such a world.
Michelle.
Would you be willing to die with me?
Yeah. If it's what you wish. Stay with me until the very end. I probably wanted to hear that just as much as him. No, probably I did. I wanted to have someone at my side as much as him. It's so lonely not having any. To live alone, to die alone. To not have anyone watching over you. For no one to even know you're dead. I simply wanted someone to tell me they're here for me. To be there, to hold my hand. How wonderful that would be. A sense of utter relief it would bring. It would be enough to cast away all the pain. To allow me to accept all our suffering. So please, tell me you'll...
Michelle and the white-haired girl chose to spend their final moments at the top of the observation tower. They could hear the crash of the battering ram against the door, the shouts of the men, the stomping of their feet. But despite all that, the ray of light shining through the little window was as beautiful as always. The room's air of serenity remained unimpeached. After the long climb to the top, the white-haired girl was terribly out of breath. Michel considered several times offering her his hand, but the possibility of doing so might rob her of her last scrapes of life and stayed his hand.
Sounds like it broke down the door. I'm glad we made up here when we did.
I'm so sorry for asking this of you.
Don't be. We were chosen here for my final moments as well. This is the one place in this mansion, any sunlight, the one place I can get a good look at you.
Thank you. I'm truly glad that I was able to end up here. That I was able to meet you. And more than anything, that you said you cared about me. Have I managed to become an essential part of your life?
Do you even need to ask? I wouldn't be here otherwise. I feel the same way as you. I'm sure of it.
Two of us are more similar than you probably care to admit. Can I ask you one more thing?
Go on.
Would you embrace me? If this is the end, if this is to be my last chance, then I don't want it to end without having been able to touch you. Please, don't refuse me this, Michelle. Just do it, please.
I won't keep you waiting long.
Thank you.
The truth is, I always wanted this. I dreamed of being able to hold you.
I dreamed of it too. Thank you. I'm so very...
You're still so beautiful. What a cruel joke. Could you not have given us some other miracle? One that would allow us both to survive?
Where are you? Where'd you get off to? I can't find her, damn it! Hey, there's some stairs over there. They lead up!
Beneath a single ray of light, the white-haired girl lay completely still. Not even a frail sigh escaped her closed lips. She remained as gorgeous as ever. It was as though she had simply fallen asleep in silence. Looking down upon her, Michelle determined to do one thing.
Not allow anyone to sully this sight.
Gave a fleeting glance back at her pristine corpse, then opened the door and stepped through it alone. He would protect that room where she lay.
Hey! There's someone up there! So this is where you've been hiding, you infernal witch! Wait! That's not the girl!
The raucous sound of their footsteps rang out from below. Shortly thereafter, the men themselves came into view. As he had expected, they were heavily armed. He glowered at the men, then sucked in a deep breath and shouted at the top of his lungs.
I am the witch you seek! I have inherited her curse. It is I who bring calamity upon you!
You hear that? But he's a... man or woman? It doesn't matter. Death to anyone who has ties to the witch! Cleanse this earth of all impurity! Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!
Michel did not flinch at the sight of the men. He stood unyielding between them and the door. He did not flinch when they raised their weapons against him, nor when they pierced his body.
Die and take your curse with you!
have no need for this life any longer. It's all yours. I am cursed to kill even that which I wish to protect. But at the very least, I can protect one thing before my life is done. Not even one of you will leave this place. Wither and die by my curse.
The blood spilling from his skewered body flowed down the stairs, down and down like a little river, soaking the feet of every single man who had stormed the mansion. This was the last thing he saw before the final grains of light slipped between his fingers, which brought a faint smile to his lips. Neither of them had expected what happened next, though, for God had a most twisted sense of humor. The white-haired girl had not miraculously passed away without being robbed of her beauty.
Why am I still alive?
She had, rather, not passed away at all. Quite cruel of him, was it not?
Misha? Where have you gone, Misha? Misha. I smell blood.
For had he allowed her to die, she would not have been made to witness the scene that awaited her.
No. No!
And I am sure you knew just what it was that she laid eyes upon in that moment. The ravaged corpse of her beloved. A torrent of blood streaming down, down, down the spiral staircase. And the sickening stench it raised.
No. Why?
And his was not the only body. The villagers who had assaulted the mansion had been subjected to his curse. The life drained from their withered shells.
Why did this? Misha, why? Why am I once still alive?
That is a question I cannot answer either. Perhaps his curse did not affect those he loved, as terribly cruel as that might be. I cannot say.
Why? You said we would go together. A world without you has no meaning.
Had she actually expended her life there in the room at the top of the tower, perhaps this tale could have a happy ending. She would have at least been able to have the man she loved at her side until the very last moments upon this earth. But that was not what had transpired. She had survived, been left utterly alone. I felt a profound pity for the miserable girl. So I called out to her.
Keep going, Kate.
Would you like to see him once more?
What?
I have the power to help you meet him again.
Is there? Where are you?
You know what they call this mansion. So who do you suppose remains on these grounds?
No way. You're from the legend. You actually exist.
Now I asked you a simple question. Would you like to see him again?
The witch grants people's wishes, but at a price. Said I wouldn't ask for her assistance if I met her, but that's changed. Now that I've lost him, if it's truly possible, then I want to see him. Bring him back to life.
Regrettably, I cannot directly meddle with the forces of life and death. However, I can guarantee you this. Your reconstruction.
Reconstruction?
Correct. To ensure that you remain as yourself in future lives and are not reborn as someone else, your body and mind shall be reconstructed, as shall his. If you sincerely wish to reunite with one another, if you genuinely need each other in your lives, you will eventually meet again. All I can promise you is eternal reconstruction. What you make of it is up to you. You want to see him again, don't you? You want to hear his voice again, don't you? You want to feel his hand on your cheek once more, don't you? If that's what you want, then you must remain who you are. If you are simply reborn, that wouldn't be you. So there wouldn't be any point, would there?
Me, as I am. And he, as he is.
Make up your mind quickly. I will not wait long.
I want to see him again.
Oh, as you wish, sweet little girl. I shall grant you both eternal reconstruction and pray with all my heart that you can attain true happiness. Shortly thereafter, the white-haired girl took her own life. She decided she had nothing to gain by remaining in the present time, and that in order to reunite with Michelle, she needed to make her way to the next life. And thus, the mansion was left bereft of a master to travel slowly through the ages until someone came along to give it life once more. But an unfathomable amount of time has passed, and the two have still yet to reunite. Have they, Master? You know now who you are, do you not? You remember everything now, do you not? You were present in every single era. The reason for which is, as I described in the previous tale, because you yearned to be reunited with someone. But that person never showed up in any era. And poor sweet you, having no memory of any of that, lived those lives with other men. Is it any surprise misfortune befell those eras then?
James, the narrator.
The door swung closed. But rather than outside, the departed and the maid were inside the dull, monochrome room at the top of the observation tower. The awe-inspiring ray of light shone not through the lone window high upon the stone wall,
Wrapped in a curious, impenetrable darkness, they stood alone in the room. The maid wore a gentle, but brittly cold smile as she looked straight at him.
It's not your fault misfortune befell you. The only force to blame for that is fate. You were always so kind, so pure of heart. You had boundless trust for others and the goodness of people. You were the very image of all that is right. There is no greater misfortune than someone as pure and beautiful as you, being mercilessly thrown into the grinding gears of tragedy again and again. I still pity you for everything you had to go through. You poor, poor soul. You must be utterly exhausted, constantly betrayed. The men you were waiting for never appeared. After so long, your spirit worn down to the bone, you lost any and all awareness of who you really were. Who you were hoping to find wandering into this illusory mansion, cut off from the real world. You and I are the only ones here. The man you seek is nowhere to be found. Have you still not figured it out? Then allow me to tell you everything. I am the cursed witch, Morgana, who haunts this mansion. And you are the tragic plaything of fate, the white-haired girl named Giselle. Did my calling you master confuse you? If so, then I apologize. My habit of calling the master or mistress of the house master is quite deeply ingrained. And yes, that means precisely what you think it does. That I have accepted you as my new master. That I wish for you to remain here, to stay with me. So let us put an end to this journey. Do not worry, there's nothing to fear. We are simply going to step outside the river of time. Nothing unpleasant will ever happen to you again. I will be here with you for all eternity, and I will give you my utmost care. You will not have to wait for anyone. Forget about him, the man you once saw. And I am sure you shall find happiness. Please, do it for me. I've been waiting for you for so very long. I've wanted nothing more than to see you again. But you are continually stolen away from me, despite my sincerest desires to spend my days with you. Which is why I wanted you to recall everything. For surely you would not willingly repeat the same fate. If you knew all of the pain it had caused you to suffer thus far. Spend eternity with me, in the gentle embrace of darkness.
The maid extended her hand for the departed. Her fingers, brushing up against his, were as cold as ever. But her breath tickled his skin pleasantly, and her sweet words rang in his ears, filling him with warmth. The departed thought back on his time with her in the mansion. She had, indeed, always treated him with great compassion, and nothing she had said seemed to be a lie. And so the departed pondered. What was he to do?